Hey everybody, it's Friday. I hope everybody's having a good TGIF. And in today's video, I'm going to be making a traditional quiche. And the first thing you need to start with is a cup and a half of flour. And you will also need the butter that you choose. I usually use this kind of butter because it's richer and creamier. And you will need it to be cold. So you do not want it to use it at room temperature. We only need 1 stick of butter and we need it to be cut up into individual squares that we will combine with the flour and salt and a good portion of ice water. We don't want a lot, we just want enough that it will incorporate into the pie crust dough. Sorry about getting out of the frame. I need about at least a cup of water that I'm going to measure out when I start putting it into the pie crust dough. And you need the water to be really cold. And now I'm going to measure out the flour. I'm going to need to measure exactly because we don't want the pie crust to be too dense or not dense enough. I'm going to measure out about a cup and a half. And you want it to be perfectly leveled. So you want it to be perfectly leveled so you have the right amount. And now the last part of this measuring. I'd say you only need almost you need less than what I'm pouring right now, but I'm just using this as a guide of how much I should measure out. And you only need really about a pinch of salt. The other thing you can use, which they say, which will make it a little bit sweeter, is a little bit of sugar. Preferably that's you if you want to do that. I'm not big on sugar in my pie crust. Next thing you need to do is to chop up your butter into chunks and get it into this flour mixture here. and you want to make sure the butter is cold enough. If it's not, I suggest you put it back into the fridge and let it set up for a few more hours. So you do not want room temperature or warm butter in your pie crust recipe. Otherwise the pie crust won't be as flaky or as crusty as you might want it to be. But then again, if you prefer that, you can do it that way too if you like. Now we got the butter, the salt, and the flour in there. And now we need to slowly pour. We need to measure out a little bit of this ice water, and we're going to slowly pour it in, and then we're going to start making this pie crust. I'm sorry I stepped out of frame again. I'm going to get a mixing spoon. So when we start pouring in, we need to start mixing. And we don't want to mix too hard. We need it just to incorporate. We want it to become a dough, but we don't want to... We want it to be doughy, but not doughy till we get it out of the bowl, and then we're going to start working it more when we get out of the bowl. And it looks like we are going to need more water. Just a little bit more water, not a lot. We're going to use just a little bit more water, not a lot. Okay, it's starting to come together here. We're going to do just a little bit more. And then after this, I'm going to put this on parchment paper. After I get it more into a dough-like substance. And then we are going to put this into the fridge for the next half an hour. And I will be off camera for that. And then I'll come back and we'll pick up from where we left off with that. Okay, it's starting to come together here. So I'm gonna use my hands. My hands are clean, and we just need it to get consistency of a dough-like. Okay. Okay, now that we have this in a dough-like consistency,